Yeah, I tell you, I got 2 rifles. Yeah. I still don't have dual pistols.
I don't know how. Dude, I think you gotta bring that dude out of jail.
It's problematic, although not illegal. It's an interesting way to reduce bycatch is to eliminate the target species. Bycatch is the unintended take of a species non-targeted by a fisher person, okay? So the easiest way to explain it is if I'm out to catch pink, brown, or white shrimp, and instead I catch juvenile flounder, or menhaden, or mullet, those unintended species would be bycatch. And we use the word take to explain that this is an animal that's been taken unintentionally. When we talk about bycatch commercially, we are mostly talking about the shrimp trawlers. Now the current numbers for the amount of bycatch per shrimp caught is anywhere between 60 to 90%. So to say that a little bit better, for every 1 pound of shrimp you catch, it's possible that you are killing 6 to 9 pounds of something else. You're not keeping the bycatch, it's going overboard dead. Yes, other animals are eating it, but it's just an unnecessary waste of resources. These are juvenile fish that will grow to become mature and then start the reproductive cycle over again. Acute local issues with bycatch is if, and this can be hundreds if not thousands of pounds a couple times a day behind a trawler. If those fish wash up on the beach, then it's going to get a reaction from the general public. They're likely to call state law enforcement and say there's been a fish kill. The ongoing, take of these forage fish, just years ago they were called trash fish or bait fish. And what's in a name, I think it's really important. That nomenclature as a trash fish or a bait fish led people that didn't know better to believe that the fish weren't important when they're actually a key component of the food web, and these are what a lot of the large fish that we eat are eating to sustain themselves. If we could make these nets more effective so that the bycatch was not 60 to 90%, but half or even a third of that would help these estuarine systems remain healthy and productive. Just because you can eat shrimp every day probably doesn't mean you should. At some point, regardless of your distance from the coast, these aren't going to be around forever. So it needs to be kind of a specialty thing, and I think we should really look at farming and farming the right way in order to keep this alive, because shrimp aren't just important for our appetite, they're critical to the inner workings of the food web here in the estuary.